Hello there, welcome to Trade of the Week. Now, one of the biggest market movers this week was the informal OPEC meeting in Algeria. And we witnessed oil prices rise after a deal was struck between the members to limit crude oil output for the first time since 2008 in an attempt to ease this oil glut. Now, Chris Beecham, his Trade of the Week was long WTI. It was a daring move considering the history of OPEC, never to agree on anything. Josh Mahony is here now just to talk us through this trade and how it transpired on the chart. So yeah, it was a bold move, wasn't it? In such a week where it's so dependent on the news.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been trading on that week, quite honestly, but it was a gutsy call and it seems to have paid out. You know, ultimately the way that it worked out the week, so this is the 4-hour chart, we can see that the week ultimately saw a real sharp deterioration at the beginning of the week. But we saw, obviously, with that announcement, the market really picked up very heavily, and you can see from the highs around here, it's gained around about 4%. So yeah, pretty significant gains in the end, but certainly it was a bit of a risky one in the first place. So fair play to him. It is, because you never quite know what they're going to agree or not agree on, or if they do agree, they're going to do anything. Yeah, it's a bizarre one. I've been let down too many times. The unreliable boyfriend. Yes, indeed, that. Oh, OPEC. Right, moving on. What are you going to do? I'm going to do the Australian dollar.
You like this one?
I like it. I like it a lot. And I've got good reason to like it a lot because it's relatively consistent. Now, this is a weekly time frame, and I love this because it's a good line. And everyone loves a good line. Now, you can see here, we've got time and time and time again. Just keeps coming back to this line and turning around, and it's just done the same this week. You can see that previously, last 2 months, it's come and hit this line, and then that's been the top of the week. And so with this week essentially seeing it hit there, and that's the top of the week for this week, there's no reason in my mind why it can't see further downside. If we're looking in terms of the shorter term, this is the 4-hour chart, we can see that we hit that descending trend line right at the top of this rising wedge. A rising wedge is a bearish pattern, and as such, we're going to be looking for further downside. We saw that break lower. We saw a break through 76.41, and then temporarily through this, 76.41, and then temporarily through this sort of 7600 mark. And now we're seeing a rally. And essentially a rally is a good thing. A rally for me means that I've already got my clearly defined direction, and now this is giving a better price to get in. You know, if we were entering this trade down here, then I would say arguably, you know, we've already got a decent amount of move priced in. But with where we are at the moment, I feel pretty comfortable being short of this market. Put my stop up above this 77.10. So if I put it, say, 77.20, and I'll be looking to see it hopefully significantly deteriorate and continue on this big old triangle that we've been seeing for a long time. So, you know, I think we've got a decent amount of downside to come. You can see this is the triangle. So as it gets closer towards the end of the triangle, you would think the range essentially shortens. But that still leaves quite significant room for a move at current prices. You can still see a nice, say, 150-point move, 130-point move towards near enough the lower end of this spectrum. So considering towards the upside, we're going to be looking at, say, an 80-point move, 85-point move. You know, it makes sense for me.
I think this one's a good one as well because you don't necessarily need years of technical analysis to understand what it's doing. It's quite a clear pattern.
It is, yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's consistent, you know, and I feel like a lot of the time people try and trade things and try and find like the secret formula to unlock a market that's very difficult to understand. And I always say, you know, if you have something that looks really obvious, and you know, if you tell someone I'm going to do this, and they're going to say, well, obviously you'll do that because, you know, it keeps doing the same thing. Well, why not trade a market that keeps doing the same thing and expect it to do the same thing rather than trying to unpick something that's really difficult or very sort of complex?
So don't overcomplicate it, in other words.
Exactly, yeah. I think the simple strategies tend to be better, and also at the same time, you know, the more complex you make your trading strategy, the harder it is for you to follow, and the more sort of inconsistent you are with your trading, the worse you can be at actually understanding whether it works or not.
One thing that could complicate it, though, is the macro data, because actually there's tons coming out from Australia next week. We've got the RBA interest rate decision, we've got some labour jobs numbers as well. Do you think that anything could pull this trend that looks so clear to us right now off?
Well, I mean, look, I guess if we're looking at the major event of the week, you would say it would be the RBA, right? And if we're looking at potential Aussie dollar strength, which is not what we want, we would be looking at a more hawkish outlook from the RBA or a rate rise. They're not going to raise rates. Market expectation is for them to keep rates as is. So, you know, they could keep rates as is, they could cut rates. That would all be negative for the Australian dollar. It just depends on if they decide to come out, you know, and start coming out with very hawkish comments, which I don't necessarily think is going to be the case. Then that could give us that sort of push towards the upside. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. So I'm not too worried about the fundamental side of things.
Okay, so we're going down, down under.
You got it.
All right, thank you very much indeed for watching. That's our trade of the week this week. Thank you very much for watching and have a fantastic weekend.